Musings by Nikki. Today we are here for part 1. I don't know. Am I going to try and keep track of the parts? Part 1, we'll just say, because we know it's part 1 of the Junk Journaling A to Z series. Now, my last video was an overview of junk journaling styles and all that sort of stuff. And now we are going to get into the meat of the stuff, right? So, if most of the A stuff, so ATC cards, antique lace appliques, altered paper clips, altered books, acetate, all of those A things have already been completed or have already had a video by Emily at Junk Journal Inspirations, and I will link her channel down below. So if you're interested in seeing any of the A's in Junk Journaling A to Z, you can zip over to her channel and she will have all of those things as well. I'm going to also set up a playlist for this journey that we're on, and I will include her videos in that playlist as well, so you can see those. But today we are tackling our first B, and our first B is bags, as you can tell, right? Paper bags, lunch bags, gift bags, glassine bags, paper sacks. Those are all things that were listed by you guys in the group, suggested by you guys in the group. So today we're going to just do kind of a run through of the different things, different places you can source them. And then after we talk through that, I'll show you how to make a couple of simple bags, and then how to make one that you can fold into a signature, and then we'll kind of go from there and see how much time we have. So let's start with paper bags, right? So in a journal, a really awesome thing and a very common thing is to put a bag on a page as a pocket, right? It's a great place to put things in, tuck things in here. You can tuck things behind. You can glue the 3 sides like this and make side tuck spots, like this. You can glue down this edge and this edge and make it one big, tuck spot behind there. And then you also have the bag here. You can also take bags and clip them in, right? So say, you just want to decorate the whole bag, or you like the way it goes. You want people to be able to move it around. You can paper clip it in on the side of a page. You can also fit, put a bunch of small ephemera. If you're making a journal and giving it to somebody, or using it yourself or selling it, and you want the end user, whoever that may be, to have some additional pieces of ephemera that they can use. So say it was like a letters traveling writing journal, and you wanted them to have some postage stamps and some postcards that they could, decorate the book with. You can put them inside of a little bag like this that keeps them organized, and then tuck that into a pocket or put that in a tuck spot. So they're a pretty versatile tool. You can, fold them over, and I mean, there are thousands, well, maybe not thousands, but hundreds probably of tutorials on YouTube about all the different ways that you can alter, paper bags, glassine bags, all that sort of stuff. So today we're just going to kind of go over. I pulled out as many examples as I could kind of put my hands on fairly quickly of bags that I have in my stash that I use on a regular basis. Some of these have come from Happy Mail. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, my allergies are on 100. The birch trees are blooming here, and that's it for me. I am taking, my Claritin and everything, but I'm going to be clearing my throat and coughing a lot, and I apologize for that in advance. I hope it doesn't bother you too much, but it's just the fact of the matter. 'Tis the season here in Minnesota. So anyway, let's look. So let's just shuffle these into a pile. Now, this is probably one of the most common bags that you will see in junk journaling, and it's a Glassine bag. We love them because, I mean, listen to that. If you're like me and you like the paper crinkle sound, these Glassine delivers on all levels. You can find these in lots and lots of different sizes. This is just one that I have. I like this size. This is what, like 4 inches by, I think, 6. Yeah. And this is great because it fits on the pages of most junk journals, right? If you're doing a 5x7, it'll take most of the page. If you're doing a 6x9 or like a standard letter size, this fits on there as well. So it's a nice size to have. You can find these on Amazon. Almost everything here you can probably find on Amazon. Well, except the ones that I'll talk about alternate sourcing. But also there are a lot of Etsy sellers that have smaller, you know, like, I was going to say chunks, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Smaller bundles of these, or packs of these, because sometimes if you buy them on eBay, or I mean on eBay, on Amazon, oh my gosh, you guys, if you buy them on Amazon, or sometimes like, you know, an office shop or something like that, sometimes you get like 100, you know. So there are Etsy sellers, maybe you are newer, you're not trying to have a huge stash, you don't have that much space or that much money to invest in that, and you only want 5. There are sellers, lots of sellers on Etsy that sell junk journal supplies, and you can find things like this in small little packs and bundles. So I'd highly recommend looking at that. But you can find these in tall and skinny, really big, you know, quite wide. And then you can also find them in brown, often, like a craft paper brown. So this is a larger one here. And this style of, this one's gusseted, so you see how wide that opens up there. This one is, a lot of these you can find in like candy making or baking or food supplies, because these are also used by restaurants, right? Restaurant supplies for muffins and pastries and things, sandwiches, things like that. So you can find these in those types of places or locations as well. You can find several sizes of these at like Hobby Lobby, I know for sure. I think Michael's has some in their like candy making section. So anyway, a few things you can do with just, so this is a standard white, right, Glassine bag. Glassine just meaning it's a paper that's kind of waxed and semi-transparent, right? It's not fully opaque. So the cool thing about it is when you stick something in, and I should have brought like a tag with me or something, but of course I did not. Let me see if I can find one offhand. Probably not. Anyway, if you stick something in there, oh, yep, I've got one. You can see through it, right? So that looks really pretty. And then if you decorate it with lace or anything, you can still see your tag through. So this is a Glassine bag, this same bag that I had my daughter Joy does coffee, polka dot coffee dyeing. So I had her do, oh, listen to the crinkle. It gets even better when it's got coffee stain on it. So I had her coffee stain some for me, and that changes the look of it entirely. And then this one, same bag, but I put this one through my Sizzix, through my Big Shot, and I put an embossing folder on it. So now it's been embossed, and then I went over it with my inker real lightly and picked up the pattern, so it pulled it out, and now you've got this kind of cool floral one. So if we put our floral tag inside of it, oops. Oh, yeah, see, you got to be careful. Sometimes the one thing about Glassine, it tore just a little bit there. The one thing about Glassine bags is that if you put them through an embossing folder, you got to be careful because they will tear a little bit. The paper doesn't have as much give as regular paper. Anyway, it's been embossed. So now you have this pretty muted floral behind there when you put your tag in. So you can do all kinds of things with this standard Glassine bag. Ink around the edges. you know, ink here. Like I said, fold it up. You can do all kinds of things. And there are several different sizes of this. This one is a more of a waxed bag, but you can find these, and this one's, you know, semi-transparent as well. So you can find those lots of places, all the places I mentioned. Then there are tons of different sizes of paper sacks. And again, these are things that you can find on Amazon for sure. Lots of Etsy sellers have different sizes of paper sacks. This one has been coffee stained. So this one I just put, you know, you can see it's a little grungy there. This one I believe came from Hobby Lobby as well. And I think it came in the like gift bag section. That's another place to go look for little sacks and things, is in the gift bags, like by the little mini gift bags or treat bags. Here in the US, I guess we would call them treat bags as well. So like if you're having a party, you would put some treats in there and fold it over and, you know, make a cutesy little treat bag. So, or like weddings. So this one is just a long skinny one. Now this one is usually too tall. I have some of these, but they're usually too tall for my standard journals. So I will either fold them in half and, you know, sew them into a signature, open this end up, or I will fold it up like this and make a double envelope, you know, or keep this and make a pocket here. And then sometimes I'll even glue that in as a tuck spot. So it's a multi-layered event all of a sudden. Another thing that you can do with these is fold them. You can, if they're longer, skinnier ones like this, you can fold them in half. I'm not going to actually fold any of these, but you can fold it in half and actually make a little mini journal, right? A little mini notebook. So you can staple or sew a few pages in there and tuck that in. So now you've got a little mini journal, but it has, you know, places to put stuff, and you can cut this end open, and that way both of the covers of it have places to put things, right? So you could tuck stuff in there, open it up, notebook, cut this end open, and have stuff tucked in there as well. Lots of different things you can do with longer ones. So don't be put off by the size of the bag necessarily. There are lots and lots of things you can still do with it. Then this came to me in Happy Mail. I got a few of these in Happy Mail and I love them. So this is an example of like a decorated bag, right? So this is a paper bag. Again, this one is bigger than, you know, clearly what would fit on the page of a regular sized journal. This thing is 6 inches wide and 9.5. So that would not fit. However, like I said, there are all kinds of things that you can do with these still by folding them in half and making mini journals out of them. Right. So these kind of bags, this size, again, this is probably like a treat or a gift bag, and they come in lots of different prints and things as well. You can find these in Etsy shops. Like I said, you know, paper suppliers or junk journal supplies people, or you can find them on Amazon for sure. Probably like some of the craft supplier sites. I don't know if you can find them on like scrapbook.com or not, but yeah, you can find these a lot of different places, and they work great. This is, you know, this one is a vintagey looking one. This one looks great sewn into the signature. So, you know, you fold it in half and then cut this end open as well. And then as you flip your page, you know, you've got this little bag that you can stick stuff in. You can decorate it, put pockets on there. So again, don't be intimidated by the size of these things. Just got to get creative with how to use them in your journal. But that's an example of a printed one. I've had ones that had polka dots on them, flowers on them, lots of different things. And another place to look for, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to it right now. So this one, I believe, came to me in Happy Mail as well. And this one, I'm going to guess, along with a couple of these, along with this one for sure, are good examples of, and potentially this as well, of you go to a gift shop or somewhere where you would buy something small, you know, if you're in a gift store or something. Oftentimes they will have really cute bags that they put their stuff in, right? Or if you're at a, like there's a store here that has these adorable little bags that they put stuff in. It's called Found North, and they put things in there. And then, you know, there are these adorable bags. This one didn't come from there. Says East of India, so I'm assuming this is a store. This came in Happy Mail, but the store here has very similar bags, and this one seems like that same concept as well. This seems like something you would get, you know, they put a few things in. It's made out of that kind of that packing paper, you know, that they crumple up and put inside purses sometimes when you buy them. This is made out of that same stuff. And so you can keep these. Definitely. If you ever buy something and it comes in a cute little paper sack, keep those. This one's damaged up in the corner, so it will need some repair work, or you can cut it off and create your new top on it. Right? Or, I mean, you can do lots of different things. You can put some paper reinforcer over the top there to reinforce that. But this is a great example. I mean, look how cute this is. It's got a little bear and a little house by the pine trees. Oh, and there's a little deer. It's so cute. And this one came folded in half, and I thought already, what an adorable little mini journal that would make, wouldn't it? So that's these two are like gift bags. They're, you know, from stores. Then this one is a gift bag again. And this one, I think, this one either came to me in Happy Mail or I purchased something on Etsy and it came in this because there's a little seal that's been broken. So one or the other, I don't remember. But what a cute little gift bag this is. And this works great for, again, like this one's a little heavier paper, so this would be adorable little mini journal. But you can do all the things, the aforementioned things, wider than a normal page, but you can use it in lots of ways. So, you know, if your kid comes home from a party with a treat bag that's really cute, nab that sucker. Just be like, you can have the contents, but I get the bag. Another one. So I love these long skinny bags like this. These come from To Have and To Hold Till Checkout Do Us Part. They come from Chili's here in the States. And I'm not sure if it's all over the United States or not. But this is what your silverware come in when you sit down at the table. You have a napkin and your silverware are in these bags. So what do? Embarrass the heck out of my family by saying, as soon as we sit down, I say, everybody, give me your, don't crinkle them up, give them to me. And they all roll their eyes. And then I, you know, carefully do this and put all of them neatly in my purse. It's a reason to go to Chili's. But I think I've had them from other restaurants as well. So this is, again, an alternative place, right? An unexpected place to find like little paper sacks and stuff. But see if your restaurants have you know, if their paper comes, their silverware or anything comes in a little sack. And these are great. I just put paper over the front of them and decorate them up, and they look so cool along the edge of a page, and I'll glue them in and make them a tuck spot as well. Tall, skinny tags in there and stuff. Really cool. So an alternative place to look. And then the good old paper lunch sack, right? Like this thing that, you know, your mom packed your lunches in if you weren't cool enough to have a cool lunchbox, or if you were like me and probably lost my lunchbox. So then you got relegated to the paper lunch bag. Now, clearly, you know, this thing opens up big. So we're not putting this whole thing in the journal, right? It's gusseted, but there are endless possibilities with these lunch bags. People make there are so many. Just look up brown paper lunch bag, junk journal, you know, pockets or booklets or notebooks or something. There are so many cool things that you can do with these, and people have done them really cool. There are people that make just make whole journals out of them. So you cut this bottom part off and use them to make a cover. They are, you know, because they have this wide gusset in there, if you have a sewing machine and you sew around them, they kind of get puffy, almost like they're quilted, and they make the coolest little mini journals, you know? They have a good hand feel. But I wanted to show you, and I cut one apart just to show you this, because I don't remember where I saw this. I want to say it was maybe on Emily's channel. I tried so hard to find it or remember, but then I was like looking through endless videos and couldn't figure it out. Maybe Dee Dee. I don't know. Somebody, whoever you are, cheers to you. And I think they said they saw someone else doing it. It's one of those things where it was like she saw her and she saw her and she saw her. And anyway, they cut off this bottom part, right? Because this, you can use this part separately. You can cut it apart and just use it as paper and things, pages in your, you know, you can open it up the long way and use it as pages. The gussets, right? The gussets on here are really wide. So you can open it up like this and then fold it like this, right? So you've got one gusset here and one here. Let me move this one out of the way. And then you can fold it in half and sew that actually into a journal. And you've got this full page pocket right here and right here, because I cut the bottom off, remember? I cut this chunk off. So if you, now you've got these big pockets right here, which is really slick. You can put big journaling cards in there. Really cool. I've seen plenty of people do journals where you just use, I mean, these are usually super cheap, right? You can get them at the dollar store probably. And you could make ephemera, great ephemera holders out of these. You could layer up 10 of these, bind them through the middle, and now you've got, you know, 20 little sacks here, and maybe you have to put paper clips or something to hold them shut. But how awesome would that be, right? You know, now we'll have to maybe do one of those because that'd be kind of fun. Another thing that I've done with these before is once you cut off the bottom, right? So cut off the bottom and here's the top part here. If you fold it in half this way, then at the back of a journal or on a page where you can afford a little bit more bulk, if you fold it in half and you glue this page, the edges along here, and you glue those together, now you have like an accordion folder, right? So you attach it to the back of your book here, and you've got this accordion folder, and you can stick a bunch of tags and things in there. So that's kind of fun too, because you've got a lot of storage options then. It's great, you know, at the front or back of a journal where you can afford to have some more space and pull out this wide pocket thing. And you can always sew them in like this. Just be aware that, you know, whatever goes in there might fall out easier just because it's gusseted, so it opens up really wide. There's not a lot of like friction to hold it in there. But the other cool part is then with this part, this was the part that I saw Emily or Dee Dee or whoever, I can't remember who, had this, so glued the bottom in to the book, and then you end up with this. And it opens up, you guys, and you can put journal cards and things in there because it's like literally the bottom of the bag, right? So they had journaling cards and stuff in there, and then it folds back shut. I was like, shut the front door. That is the coolest thing. Because this part, I would usually just chuck. I'd be like, oh, well, that's the bottom. But some brilliant person was like, wait, look it. And then you can put stuff in there and then close it back shut. So smart. You could even glue that in, you know, glue around 3 edges and make that a pocket so you could put a tag or something in behind it, and then this could open up, and it was decorated on front. You know, you could make a little closure if you wanted. It's so adorable. So adorable. So bears mentioning. All right. Now let's move on. So say you don't have any of those things, or you can't find them easily, or you don't want to spend the money on them, but you've got some paper or some things or a book that you're ripping pages out of laying around the house. You can make your own bags that will look very convincingly similar to those. These are a few fabric bags that I made, and I use these in journals in a few different ways. This one is literally just a long strip of fabric like this, folded in half, and I sewed around 3 edges. There we go. It's a little sack. This one is a little bit more fancy. I just sewed around the raw edges, you know, and turned them in. So there's actually a nice hem and a zigzagged hem up here. But same concept. It's just a little fabric bag. If you have fabric scraps, these are a great thing to do. They look really cute. You can sew them, you know, into the corner of a book or something. And fabric is nice because it adds some different texture, right? So those are a couple of little fabric bags that I've made. Then let's look at, these are 4 different examples of little paper sacks that I have made just out of things in my studio. This one is just literally a piece of book page, and I made a long skinny pocket for like a long skinny tag or journaling card to go into. We'll make one of these in a few minutes. This one is just a piece of coffee dyed paper that I made into a sack, and then I used my pinking shears along the top. So pinking shears are these guys, right? Scissors that look like this. They're for sewing usually, and they make the edges of fabric so that it doesn't fray as much. But they also create this lovely little, you know, edge on the paper. So this one is one that I made out of coffee stained paper, and then I put it through the embossing folder and went over it with my ink dauber, you know, like that. That's how it sounds. That's not at all how it sounds. Don't listen to me. That's a lie. This is the back side, and this is the front side where it's raised. So now it has cool texture, and you can't see it as well on camera, but it really does show up that it's a raised texture when you flip the page. So it looks really cool. And that's just literally out of coffee stained paper. And here's another one that I made. This one is just a piece of cardstock, like a light cardstock. And I put this through the embossing folder too, but not the whole thing. So when I went to put this through the embossing folder, through the embosser, I took my embossing folder. If you guys don't know what the heck I'm talking about, this is an embossing folder. And therefore our die cut machines. So if you have a die cut machine, like a Sizzix Big Kick or a Big Shot or something, where you can put little cutting dies through, but you can also put these folders through. So one side is raised, and then one side has, you know, where it's sunk in. And then that way when you put it through, these two fit together and it smooshes your paper into that shape. So if you don't know what these are, now you know. And this one, I made the paper, or I made the sack, and then I put the embossing folder in. So you have to make sure your embossing folder fits when you do this. But I put it in and then folded it down and ran it through that way. So it only embossed the front, not the back. Then when you open it up, it's not embossed on the back, only on the front. Oh, I've got my window open because it's gorgeous out. So I apologize in advance. Well, it's not really in advance anymore, is it? I apologize if you're hearing trucks rumble by. Then I, again, went over, that's not how it sounds, and did my ink and came up with this lovely little embossing on there. You don't have to have an embosser. I just like doing it sometimes. Sometimes I forget about my machine and then I get it back out and I go crazy. But, you know, this little paper sack would look really cute without that on it. And then here's one that I just made. Same concept. Oh, I thought I glued it shut. This is just made out of a book page that I pulled out of a flower book. And it is, you know, ready to be decorated on the front or put an image on the front or just put it in there like this. So let's just, without further ado, I have a couple of pieces of stuff and junk here that we can make some some little paper sacks out of. So let's do out of a paper. This is out of a Shakespeare book that I have. This one's pretty thin. It doesn't matter what size you have or, you know, what your medium is, whatever kind of paper or book page or whatever that you have, this will work. So the reason why I do tall, skinny ones usually out of book pages is because I like the text to be going still in the same direction like what we would read. So this one, you know, you could go this way with it, but you'd end up with sideways, which I don't mind that either, but I kind of like having some tall, skinny ones. So we'll probably do that here. You got to decide which side do you want to be the front. So this one had this cool big 1952 here, and I decided I wanted that to be in the front. And I kind of like, I kind of like this. Luf is not luf, which alters when it alteration finds. Lovely line from Shakespeare's sonnets. But I don't know why it's written like that. Oh, it's the Welsh pronunciation. Oh, people that speak Welsh, that's pretty intense. Okay, so sidetrack. So what we're going to do is we want to fold the sides over, and we want them to meet and overlap at least a little bit so that you have some room to glue. So I'm going to go like this. Then I'm going to, now book pages are lovely because they have a margin, which makes a perfect place to line up with. So I'm going to fold this one over because then I know this margin lines up with the margin underneath. So book pages are a great place to start because they help you. And then as long as you're even along the bottom, you should be good. So we'll fold that down too. Okay, so we've got this little bit of overlap right here where that margin and this margin overlap, and this is on the front, right? Now, this is going to be way too long. We definitely don't want a like 9-inch pocket or little paper sack because that'd be too long. So I'm going to cut off a little bit. Another great thing about book pages, if you're doing them this direction, is that you can follow the line of text to cut because those are even as well. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to just cut along between those two. Now we've got a little bit shorter one. And then we're going to go to the back side where we're overlapping here, right? And fold up a little bit on the bottom. I'm doing maybe like a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. You can make the flap as big or small as you want to down here, but just fold over some on the bottom, okay? Now, unfold it and open this up, and you should be able to see down here, there's this little rectangle. You can see where the fold is made. So you'll be able to see where your fold lines are, but there's this rectangle, this one, and that's on that flap we folded up. So you want to cut along this edge. Okay, we're just cutting out some of the bulk. When we fold this back up, we don't want all this bulk down there. So you want to cut out this triangle or this rectangle. And when I cut up this fold line, I'm actually going to go in and miter it just slightly. Like that. See what I did? Then we're going to do the same over here along that fold line right up to the main fold, and then we're going to miter that in just slightly. So you should end up with a piece that looks like this. Let me put something dark underneath so you can see what I've got going on here, right? And you should have 2 pieces that you cut out that look like that. This is what you want along the bottom of your bag, because then what'll happen is we fold these back in, and now we just have a single flap, and it lays much flatter and nicer back here. Now along the top, I kind of like how it says a letter to the reader right on the top. So I don't know that I'm going to do any sort of finger notches here. Like this one, I put a little thumb notch in, right? Because I had space. But I don't know that I'm going to do that at the top of this. What I will probably do is just take my pinking shears and cut across. Now, if you don't have pinking shears, don't worry. You can leave it plain, or you could take your regular scissors and cut a little. If you don't have punches, you could cut a little slightly, and we'll do that on another one. Now, literally all that's left is to glue it together. So I'm going to glue not too close to the edges because I will glue my bag shut. I've done that a bunch of times, and you saw the bag that I had over there that I almost glued shut, that I thought I had glued shut. So just make sure those are lined up nice, and then we'll put some glue down here on the flap. And in no time flat, we have created our own little custom paper bag to put into a journal, right? These are also great if you want to send happy mail and put little bits of pieces, little stickers or things in, buttons. If you own an Etsy shop and you're selling little bits and pieces, this is a great way. You can mass make these really quick. Excuse me, guys. And it's a great way to sell little charms or buttons or things like that, right? You can fold them over, make it all cutesy. But for a journal or anything else, these are really great, and this comes together so fast. So let's do another one because we're only at 36 minutes, so we can do, let's do another one. I've just got kind of abused piece of coffee stained paper here that got a little smashed with a lace doily there while it was drying. So, but we'll make a bigger one wider, and I'll show you how I make kind of the rounded on top. So with this one, I'm going to come across and line it up with the bottom. And then here, what I always do, this is why I love these mats, is because I want to make sure that it's not going to be longer than 5.5 wide, because that's how wide my normal pages are. So I'm going to fold over. I'm going to leave myself a little bit bigger flap here, right? Can you kind of see how big I'm going there? But I'm also just holding it up here to make sure that it's not going past that 5-inch mark, and I think we're good. So whatever book size you're making little paper envelopes for, you just want to make sure that they're not any wider or taller than your book, right? You can make them the size of like a whole page almost, so there's just a little bit of page left around, and then it becomes a really nice big tuck spot, plus you have the sack, you know, the opening on top. So we've got our sides folded in, then we fold up a flap on the bottom. Okay, now we're going to, now that we have our fold lines, we're going to open it up and cut these rectangles out on the side flaps. And then I miter it in just slightly. Then I come to the other side flap and miter it in just a little bit, and I have that same shape on bottom, right? I'm going to leave this cool darker edge out, and sometimes what I do to make sure that I don't glue too far is I'll take my pencil and just put a little tiny mark, and then I know, oh, okay, there, I don't want to go past that mark, but I want to make sure I come up to that mark. And we'll put some glue on. Another great thing, if you don't want to use glue, or if if you've got some double stick tape hanging around, this is a great project to just put some double stick tape there. Oh, you know what I just did, guys? I glued this shut before we cut the top. That's okay. I'll show you what happens when you do that. You can still make it look great on top. So say you've made your paper bag and then you decide later on, wait, I want to put a cool top on. Well, let's do it. Let's figure out how to do that. So if we want to put like a rounded top like I did with this one, right? Can you see that on video? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So it's just cut across the top with my pinking shears. I'm doing it with my pinking shears. You can do this with your regular shears or scissors as well, right? So now we have the plain top, and you can leave it like that, or I kind of go like this and get it to like hold open a little bit slightly, and then now here's the trick. When you're doing it like this, don't try to go back up. It won't work. Turn the bag. You won't get an even cut, is what I mean. Turn the bag and start again from this side and meet in the middle. There you go. Because if you try to go from this side and go back up, you always will end up with a weird looking thing. I know. Remember my last video, if you watched it, where I said I know how to do things wrong, so I've figured out how to do them right. This is an example of that. So now we've got that kind of rounded edge there. Now we've got this great little paper sack. This is a great substrate. You can do all kinds of things with it. Like if we wanted to, we could take the, you know, the little folder, put it in there. We could run it through the die cut, through the thing. You could take a die cut and put it on there. Before you glue it shut, you could, I think I grabbed one, yeah. You could run the front of it through with a die cut, and then you'd have this awesome, you know, butterfly. And then when you put something through, you'd see it through the little slits of the butterfly. That'd be cool. You can decorate these up in all different ways, right? So they're super great for that. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is if you want to create a bag. So I've got this, just this regular old piece of coffee stained 12 by 12. If you want to create a paper sack that will be open on both ends that you can fold in half and sew into a journal, pieces of 12 by 12 work great for that. So we're going to use the full length of the 12 by 12 for this. And we're not going to do any little end flap. We're just going to do the tri-fold thing. So we're going to fold it in, you know, just a little over thirds. So we'll have some overlap. Let's see, what am I doing? We're going to meet in the middle is what I mean, not fold it in thirds. Stop and think. Okay, yeah. I'm going to line it up on my bottom and make sure this is straight down here. Then we'll do a little bit of overlap, right? You can make these as skinny, you know, narrow, or as wide as you want. If you just use a full sheet of 12 by 12, you end up with a really great size pocket. Or not pocket, a great size double-ended bag. So now literally all you have to do is glue down the middle, but let's do the ends before we glue down the middle. So what I'm going to say is let's do it instead of with my pinking shears. I will just do with my scissors one end, and then I'll do a thumb hole notch on the other end with my little punch. So to do this, I'm going to be able to cut a much better arc if I don't have to cut, you know, while holding it open. So I only want to arc the front side of it so the back side of it stays straight, because that makes it easier to put stuff in and out, right? So I'm going to start right at the corner here, and I am literally eyeballing and there we go. So when we glue it shut, we'll have this nice little arc here, and then you'll be able to see to tuck stuff in there easier, right? Then on this side, let me grab, pardon me guys. This is my 2.5-inch circle punch. Now I've got my little 1-inch punch, and that's what I did this little thumb hole right here with. So you could put a little thumb notch right in there, but I kind of like this bigger one for doing that. And the way I do that is open this up. And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just kind of eyeballing, but I'm only going to take like the top maybe third, and I want to try and make equal distance from each fold. So I'm just eyeballing, and then taking about the top third and just punch out that much. And you end up with a nice even notch. Now, another good thing to know is if you want to ink this, so if you're gonna chicka, it's easier to ink it while it's not glued shut, right? Because then you can ink along this whole edge and ink around the curves way easier than once you folded it up. However, it's not impossible to do it, especially this larger size like this. Now let's glue this thing shut. So I'm gonna go right there, so I kind of have an idea of how wide. This is one of those, like I said, mass make. You know, this would be one of those things where if you just had a whole bunch of book pages, or you grabbed a bunch of 12 by 12s, or just even some coffee stain paper or whatever, you can make these to make your own glassine bags. You can use like parchment or wax paper and glue them together. If you don't want to spend money on glassine bags, you can just use wax paper and make your own in the style that we're doing right here, right? So now we've got this long tube. See? Tube. And the purpose of leaving it open on both ends is so that you can fold this in half. Give it a good burnish. And now it's ready to be sewn into a signature. So you just lay that in with the rest of your book pages. And when you're flipping through your book, you've got this back side here that you could put a piece of coffee stained paper on, and it'd be a journaling spot. You could put pockets, you could decorate it, whatever you want to do. And then you flip, you've got a surface here to do that as well. And you've got a place to put some stuff, right? And then, you know, as you flip through your signature, you've got the same thing over here. So you've got another bag here, and it's closed by the mere fact of being sewn into the journal, right? So this is an awesome way to do that. You can also use these if you fold it this way with the little notches. Well, either way, really. You can do this and make the cover of a little notebook. And that can be something that you stick in or tuck in behind a tuck spot or something. So a few random scraps of, paper, say you've got some scraps, you can glue them in or make a little scrappy notebook. And then that becomes a tuck spot, and you've made that out of a paper sack. So I hope that I have passed along some things and that I have not gone too fast, but that you are feeling confident in being able to go make yourself a few of these. They're really fun, and like you saw, they come together really fast. You can make them out of all kinds of stuff, and then it's great to have around, because now if I'm making a book and I decide that I need a long skinny pocket or something, I can just grab one of these and put it in there. That's the nice thing about just plain old book pages like this, is they go with every theme, kind of whatever you're working on. You can decorate them to be whatever you're doing. But you can also, make lots of these things. They go with so many things. Make a bunch out of just plain old coffee stain paper, because then you've got a bunch to go into things. Like I said, use some wax paper. Oh, you can use deli sheets, like deli paper. You can sometimes find those at like a Restaurant Supply or on Amazon. Those deli things that they'd wrap sandwiches in. You can use a bunch of those to make a bunch of paper sacks, or like your fake glassine bags can be made out of wax paper, parchment paper. I mean, you name it. Vellum. You can use any kind of paper to make your own custom bags as well. If you're using if you're making a digital kit, let's see, I think I just have a page here from my flip through that I just did not that long ago. Say we're going to be working on a start to finish journals with my new kit here, and if I wanted to print off a few extra pages of this, I could make some bags out of this, and then I'd have bags that custom match my kit, right? So that's a way to extend digital kits as well. Anyway, I'll stop jabbering. The wind is blowing my stuff around now. And I really hope that you guys found some useful tips. As always, I invite you to leave tips, hints, stuff down in the comments. Share your ideas. Share, you know, if there's anything that you see that you go, oh, well, this is how I do that, or I've made them out of this, or try using this. Leave that stuff down there. And then if you're watching this and you want some more ideas, scan the comments really quick, because there are also a bunch of other brilliant makers that watch these things and leave good tips down there. So, I hope that you guys found something good out of this, and I am so glad that you came and joined me, and we will be back doing another letter B. There's like, I don't know, a couple letter B's that we'll do for the A to Z thing. And I will also be intermixing some other videos. We're going to start on our start to finish journals, floral journals coming up in the next few days here too. So watch for those videos, watch for the rest of these, check the playlist underneath, check out Emily's, excuse me, that's where I got the A from. Check out her letter A, junk journal A to Z's. And until I see you guys next time, have a wonderful morning or afternoon or evening or middle of the night, whatever time it is on whatever side of this fantastic globe of ours that you live on. And until I see you then, stay safe and healthy, be at peace, and God bless you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.